The country's men and women in blue are being celebrated today. The SAPS is hosting an award ceremony to honor police officers and members of community policing forums. Now, they, of course, went beyond the call of duty to serve and protect the country. Now, the police top brass, including Minister Bheki Cele and Commissioner Fannie Masemola, are attending the event. Our eNCA reporter Moloko Moloto is following this story for us. He is in Polokwane. Moloko, you spoke to the Commissioner, and have you had a chance to maybe get hold of the Minister?
Good afternoon, Byron. Well, indeed, the Minister of Police, Minister Bheki Cele, joins me now. Of course, this is for the 8th edition of the SAPS Excellence Awards to recognize the work that's been done by the men and women in blue who go beyond the call of duty. Of course, the criticism is always there, considering the high levels of crime in our country. But those who also dedicate their lives, dedicate their time to fight crime in protecting South Africans, this is their day. And of course, Minister Bheki Cele now joins me for more on this. Minister, thank you so much. Beautiful setup here. You are recognizing men and women in blue. I also understand one of them will walk away with a car.
Well, as you know, that all households got bad and good Aprils in their back. Usually with the South African police, we're exposed, correctly so sometimes, as having bad people within this organization. And then it's our duty also to remind the community out there that there are good human beings within this organization. 110 of them tonight will be rewarded, 20 categories of good things they've done. Others they've passed on, others are there. Simple saying to them thank you, but also putting them there to the community to realize that there are still good people among the blue ladies and blue gentlemen. I call them gentlemen and ladies tonight for coming that. As you deal with the bad ones, also the good ones must be known.
Yes, let's talk about the rotten apples. You're saying 110 of the men and women in blue will be honored tonight. Of course, possibility is that there are many others who would not necessarily be honored tonight. You have limited that to 110. What about those who are tarnishing the image of the SAPS? How are you dealing with those?
Well, that's one sad thing, but correct to do. You know, one painful thing is when you announce that the police officer has been arrested. But no ways we can't do it. But remember, police and policing is one thing that is highly regulated. There is one body that has got several bodies that are overseeing them. They are overseen by ACU, that is anti-corruption unit within the police, by your portfolio, human rights, but basically by the IPIT, by our own inspectorate. So, and quite of them, unfortunately, they are arrested and doing the very long years, sometimes doing funny things. We're in the province as we speak, where a young 10-year-old boy was sexually abused by the own mother, and that mother is arrested.
And she's a police officer?
Not just a police officer, Lieutenant Colonel. Is quite a serious, a serious and a senior member of the South African Police. Many of them, they join criminals. You find them when our members, they go there to respond to the call of the cash heist. They find them. Some of them have joined them. Some of them they've been given firearms and all that. Indeed, those we put them there, and those that unfortunately every day it happens. But there are those that arrest those that we put in there. Those that sometimes we have members here, that you refuse to take 100,000 cash in front of them, they'll say, no, we're not here for that. So that's a day, is a good day for us to remember those today.
Minister, there's an acknowledgement that there's crime everywhere in the world. But the problem with ours is that it tends to be violent. And in terms of the revised medium-term strategic framework 2019-2024, you as the police have a task, or as government has a huge task of halving violent crime in our country by 2024. Is it even attainable?
Well, you put the fact that there is crime around the world to say ours is violent. You know, 3 or 4 days ago, I went to Potchefstroom together with the National Commissioner because one of our members was shot and killed together with the family. The wife and 2 kids were killed there. The very same day in the United States of America, 11 people were shot and killed at once. While the governor was busy seeing those families, he was pulled out of that community to say 7 more have been shot and killed. So I'm not comparing with anybody else, but ourselves as the government. The cabinet has just passed the document called Integrated Crime and Violence Prevention. That document has got 6 pillars. And those 6 pillars must be done by the government across the board. One will be the prevention of crime at the tender age. That will be your social development, your education. There should be a service delivery. Your local government, your quota will have to do that. There should be the community involvement. There should be a response by the government. So there are 6 across the government. Indeed, when we all pull together on those matters, life will be better. But as the South African police, we have our job to do.
But will that assist you in attaining your goal of halving violent crime by 2024?
Indeed, if everybody pulls together, it will. It can't just be the isolated police alone. It will. But as I stand here, I've just received from the Minister of Correctional Service that the population of prison is 40% overpopulated. 40% over. So if somebody says that police are not doing their work, I wonder who's sending those people that are 40% over, and some of them, almost more than 6,000 of them are lifers, which means a certain police officer did his or her good job for investigation for the judge or the magistrate to give you life.
I'm running out of time. Let's talk about the recruitment, the enforcement of the men and women in blue on the ground.
Unfortunately, the year 2010, we had 196,000 members of the South African police, all categories. Now we have 176,000. We are 20,000 down. Thanks to the President and the Minister of Finance that the previous year, financial year, they gave us 10,000. We'll be getting numbers going forward. We'll be confirming those numbers. But those numbers will improve because one portion of proper policing is the visibility. Those are young people. Remember.
How many more do you still have to recruit?
Well, we need more than 80,000 to be able to reach the population ratio at the present moment. We hope that these 10,000 they gave us, they will be giving us other numbers, but we'll be announcing those numbers after the President has given his budget, State of the Nation.
Minister, thank you so much for your time. Let me bring Lieutenant General Elias Mawela, who is the Provincial Commissioner of the Police in Gauteng. Sir, thank you so much for your time. We have seen on social media police somewhere in Ekurhuleni who are seen watching as the criminals were digging essentially and stealing copper. That doesn't reflect well on the side of the police.
Definitely, it doesn't look well for us, for our image, and what the SAPS stands for. That is pure dereliction of duties by those members. Over and above that, we have a legal obligation to act when crime is committed, especially in our presence, to can act. Failure thereof, it's also a criminal offense because we have omitted to can do what is expected from you as a police officer. And with that, we are not going to leave any stone unturned.
Up to so far, what report have you received from those who report to you from Ekurhuleni in terms of what actually transpired for those officers to be standing idle there watching criminals running amok?
You see, the preliminary report says to me there was a company which was assigned with the responsibility to go and replace those cables there. But also that company didn't do their work accordingly, because of how do you lay such a very expensive cables and then you leave it without, covering it with soil. So it looks to me they've made it easy for those thugs to can come and remove those things easily. Even them, we are going to hold them responsible. But for those officers, for them just to see, because they could see that the people who are removing the cables are not the contract workers. So that is the preliminary investigation which I'm having. Departmental register is registered against those members. It is investigated, and I expect that by Monday I'll be getting the full report, whereby I'll make a decision as to what do I do with those ones.
Lieutenant General Elias Mawela, thank you so much for your time, sir. He is the Provincial Commissioner of the SAPS in Gauteng, of course, reacting to that incident where police are really seen, captured on camera, watching on as the criminals were digging for copper right in front of them. And he's saying that action is certainly going to be taken against those particular officers in Ekurhuleni.
Thank you so much, Moloko Moloto, for giving us that update and also chatting to the Commissioner there of Gauteng, Elias Mawela, on that situation specifically. Of course, he also spoke to Minister Bheki Cele, in case you missed it, and he was just basically reiterating that, there are some bad cops within the SAPS, but there are also some good ones, and that's why Moloko is in Polokwane there to be part of those celebrations and to give us that story. SAPS having their 8th edition of the Excellence Award ceremony in Polokwane. Of course, we will be keeping you updated with that story there in Polokwane as it unfolds.